They would have.
Well, you're gonna start with prayer first, because you're in the church. Huh? That's right.
Okay. Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to hear about the mission that Crossroads is doing in our community for women formerly incarcerated. We are so grateful to have them here today and know that your will is being done by Crossroads on earth as it is in heaven. So we pray in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen. All righty, I want to introduce Bernice Pereira. She is the Executive Director of Crossroads. I am her liaison on the mission committee. They are one of our, a dozen mission partners, I think, that we have in the church that we donate to quarterly. Crossroads, they'll tell you a lot more about it, but they're going to talk about their current plans and their future goals. We're happy to have them as a true neighbor because they're in across the street and now they're moving into Regina Hall. And then we have Bernice Varela, Executive Director, and Ashley Piera, who's the Financial Manager. And their title of their presentation is Breaking Cycles and Building Lives. So,
thank you so much for having us. We're very excited about this expansion. We've already been your neighbor and partner for a while, and to be able to expand into a new chapter with Crossroads and having you all on board with that is priceless. So thank you so much for offering us the space and opening it up for us to be able to share with you some of what we're planning to do. Some of the things we've done over the last year and a half. I'm a very new executive director to Crossroads. Crossroads has been in operation about 28, 29 years now. It started with a lawyer that was going into the prisons and recognizing that women were just cycling through. There was no resources on the outside for them, so they just kept going back. So with her and a couple of partners, they decided like we need to do something, and Crossroads was born. A few grants later, it's expanded. In the last year and a half since I've gotten there, we've really gone back to our mission. We've pruned the trees, so to speak, and we've only been partnering with community partners that are mission driven and that are relating to what we do. So we have several programs inside of Crossroads, and we'll share a little bit about each one of the programs as far as what's going to happen in Regina Hall, which is really exciting, and then what we're doing in Los Lunas and in Albuquerque. We have locations in both places. Just to give you a little bit of history on myself, I've been in the nonprofit world for over 14 years. I'm an independently licensed clinical therapist, and so behavioral health and serving is dear to my heart. I've been, before Crossroads, I was caseworker, therapist, the COO, all within the same nonprofit for about 10 years, serving the homeless community. So I worked with the homeless for over 10 years before coming over to Crossroads. With me is Ashley, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Yes, my name is Ashley Piero. I'm now the Operations and Finance Director at Crossroads. And I have been with Crossroads for almost about 3 years. Prior to working at Crossroads, I was in private practice working with women who had cancer. So Crossroads for me was the more natural next step in my career. I definitely want to continue working with women. That is something I aspire to do for the rest of my life. I graduated from UNM, received my bachelor's in business administration there, and then last year I graduated with my master's in business administration there as well. Born and raised here in Albuquerque, I hope to stay here for a very long time and serving our community.
Thank you, Ashley. So we have several programs inside of Crossroads. Our main one is what people know us for, which is our transitional living facility. We work with women coming out of incarceration And we interview them while they're still incarcerated. So there's an interview process that they go through. And they have to be committed to working on mind, body, spirit, and soul. If they're not committed to those and they're not committing to a year, then we're not the program for them. And we wish them luck and refer them outward. For the first 6 months of them being with us, the only expectation of them is to work on mind, body, spirit, and soul. We want them to get connected with community, to take care of any mental, medical, and physical issues, dental issues that they have not been able to do while they were incarcerated or prior to incarceration that maybe they neglected due to substance abuse or being unhoused or unfortunate circumstances that maybe get gotten into prison or jail. So for 6 months, that's all we expect of them. We will help them get all their other needs met. So we'll supply them with any basic hygiene stuff, food, and of course, they don't have to pay any rent or anything to us. The only thing we ask them to do is to worry about themselves. That's it. So we have day programming. Part of the expansion with Regina Hall will be the day programming will be held inside of Regina Hall 4 to 5 days a week. And they will be expected to do groups. They do them right now, but they do them inside of our building and we're bursting at the seams. You go in at any given time and we're sharing offices, desks, we're sitting at the front desk, her and I, you know, just trying to find a space to plant ourselves to do our day-to-day work. So Regina Hall is going to really give us some elbow room. But it's also going to help the ladies learn some skills. We have another facility out in Los Lunas that is a little bit segregated because there's not a lot of resources in Los Lunas. And so we are hoping to transport them by bus a couple days a week to also be in our Regina Hall program services. So between the 2 facilities in Los Lunas and the one in Albuquerque, we probably have anywhere between 45 to 50 women and patients at any given time. And we try to keep those beds full. After they graduate from our programs, we hope that they've developed a budget. We work with them very closely. About 2 weeks ago, we had a woman graduate our program with $21,000 in her bank account, which is amazing. You know, that was with strategic planning, making sure that we had her on a budget for grocery shopping and hygiene. So she's going to go out in the community and have a good heads up, you know. About a month ago, same story. We had a woman graduate with about $16,000 in her account and a new car. She just got promoted to work at one of the local MMA, which is really impressive for a woman, right? She is going.
What's the MMA?
It's a mixed martial arts program. So she's going to be having her first fight in June. You know, so but she left with over $16,000 in her bank account and a new car. You know, so she has her own apartment, her own place, and she stays connected to Crossroads. So these are the things that we do inpatient. When they leave though, they still sometimes need community, right? Or they get so anchored to Crossroads as being their safe space that we will not close the doors on them when they leave. We have outpatient programming, which is our peer drop-in model. It is soon to be our PSR, psychosocial rehabilitation model for Crossroads programming, and they can stay with us as long as they want. If they need a once or twice a month visit, and that's all they need, then that's all they can come in for. You know, we still provide them the same things if they want to come into our boutique. We do have a boutique that we set up, and it is very thrift store. We don't want them digging through bags of clothes because it's so degrading. You know, when you need something and they're like, go ahead and go look through that clothes, and it's just a pile of clothes. We won't do that to them. We set up the boutique to be a thrift store experience for them. So they can come to the boutique, they earn points from attending groups and participating in different events, and they can trade those points in for hygiene products. We have emergency hygiene products for people who are just starting out. So we still provide those services even after they leave. One of the other programs with Crossroads is Scattered site housing, we coordinate with the county pays their rent and we provide the services. So even after they leave, they might still need a little bit of support. So we do twice a month home visits and then we provide them groups to be able to successfully continue the reintegration process. If we're looking at the context of a year, sometimes people ask me why it's so long. And the answer to that is we're dealing with sometimes 13, 14, 15 years of trauma, maybe more, and we're not gonna undo it in 1 year. There's no way. The year is just setting up a foundation of security and safety and love and kindness to be able to build upon that. So beyond the year, when they graduate from our inpatient program, they can go to our outpatient programming and they can continue working with our caseworkers that they're pretty familiar with by that point. And with our community supported housing, we probably have about 80 women and families. By the time they leave our inpatient programming and they go into something like outpatient, family reintegration is a huge part of what we do. So we have family visits every weekend and we want to reintegrate and bring the home back together. And so when they leave and they go out in the community again, they're back with their families. So they have their kids with them. So you'll see kids running around Regina Hall pretty soon because we let them come to group with the moms and we watch them while moms still go to group so that there's never a barrier for women to receive the support that they deserve. Do you have any questions about our program so far?
How many staff members do you have? Do you know psychologists and other different support systems?
Yes. Yes.
About that, for me, is that. Well,
So-
I might want to repeat the question for the Zoomers, because
Okay.
Diana's one. So.
So Diane asked, talk about the staff at Crossroads and how many we have. We have 29 staff members. We are all women from the top all the way down to our resident advisors and our volunteers. We do get men that come in and they do volunteer. They're very supportive, but as far as the day-to-day operations, we're all women. We have clinicians. I'm one of the clinicians that are there. We have caseworkers, we have resident advisors, they're the ones that hold down the fort from the hours, non-traditional hours, 5 in the afternoon till 7 in the morning. We have lead caseworkers as well. Did I miss anyone? Of course, our administrative team, we have the finance and operations director, she's also the second in command. And then we have a couple of different leads. Like our clinicians, they're also our compliance team, so they keep us in check and make sure that we are doing all of the checks and balances needed to be at the full and sustainable long term.
How much of y'all's effort is involved in bureaucracy of integrating? So, citizenship or growth writer, just some of the legal work to get some. Is that significant or is that?
We are so fortunate that we have a lot of community members that support the mission of Crossroads, so it's a little easier than what it probably would be in a different agency. We have partners with, like Healthcare for the Homeless that has an ID clinic.
Okay.
Because we're able to write a letter of residency for them, it helps kind of surpass that, bring them to proofs of residency piece. So we've been fortunate, but that's part of the initial 3 months, right? Their 3-month plan is making sure they have all of those pieces, so that they can be successful. But it is quite a tedious task whenever we have women that are federal maybe, and they're from North Dakota.
Yeah.
Right, like then it becomes a little more challenging. We're right now looking for a vocational specialist to help kind of alleviate some of that constant cost that we're having to cover. We did get a grant that allows us to pay for some of that stuff now. And we're hoping to hire someone for that position soon, and it'll be even easier for our caseworkers after that. We'll send them to the vocational specialist and let them take care of it. Yeah, They do, but they have the resources already there, because the caseworkers are already, they do it so much.
Got it, I know.
Yeah, and they will go with them if it gets to that point. Our inpatient programs work on a buddy system. And so when they are freshmen, they're not allowed to go anywhere by themselves. Studies have proven that the first few weeks of getting out of incarceration, you are the most vulnerable to recidivism, relapse, all of those pieces. But if you have an upperclassman, we call them, if you have an upperclassman with you, they have way too much to lose to let you go and do anything that's gonna jeopardize your freedom or sobriety. So we partnered the underclassmen with upperclassmen everywhere for the first 12 weeks.
You have about 50 beds, you said?
Yes, yeah.
Could you give us a sense of what that's doing to the overall, like an ideal, long as not an issue, how many beds do you need?
Our hope, that number is gonna be extremely difficult until we can work backwards in the system part, right? If we can fix the systems, then we can reduce the need
Sure.
for beds. We are hoping within the next 5 years to expand an Elm location to 70 women. And the need is there. One of the things we're doing is we have a south wing of the Elm property, and we are currently trying to renovate it so that we can be a little more innovative and creative with what the needs of women are. Right now, because we are mostly Department of Corrections and we work primarily with them, we're kind of bound to women that are on probation or parole. But we get women every day coming through the door or calling our front line saying, is there a place for me? And unfortunately, if they're not on probation or parole, we don't have an inpatient for them. So with our south side, we are hoping to be able to meet the needs of the community in a way that is not attached to Department of Corrections, because not every woman who needs help is gonna have a record or be on probation or parole. So we're hoping with our south side expansion that we will have flexibility to open up our doors to women that need it, that are not in trouble, that are out here, that we see them out here and there's nowhere for them to go. And still follow the same model of a year worth of reintegration and wraparound services afterwards. Any other questions on those parts?
How extensive is the wrap, the after the fact, kind of thing? That seems like a real important part of the thing that, as you get them started, that's they're both a very important thing. But how long does that go on? And it sounded like you were saying they come in, rather than you going out. And I wonder if there's any of that.
We do both. We try to meet them where they are. You know, there are gonna be some women that are maybe wheelchair bound or that have significant issues that cause them, barriers to getting help. So we'll send workers out to them. But we do want to get them out of their house because it reduces depression. It helps with pro-social behaviors. It helps them build community outside the staff member that's working with them. So case management, our expectation is at least once a week that they contact their caseworker or have a visit in the office with them. Our clinicians, they're on site all the time and they can reach out to a clinician anytime they need support.
Is that a 1 year?
No, our outpatient is indefinite.
So it goes as long as you want.
Yes, as long as they need it. What we've seen is after a few years, they become mentors and they help lead our client advisory board. We have a board internally that tells us what to do, basically. It's all client ran. They tell us how we can improve, what we've done okay, what we can do better, what they feel is not going well. And so we build a lot of our processes around the client advisory board. But what happens is they end up joining that board, they stay on, they become mentors, and then eventually they will go on to get their own certification to be caseworkers, and they'll go out in the community and become caseworkers or peer support workers in a different agency. So they don't need us anymore, which is what we want, right? I tell our staff that we need to work ourselves out of a job, you know? So we do with them, but never for them.
The age range of clients that we work with.
Anywhere from 18 and up. Our median range is usually 35 to 45, but we've had 18-year-olds all the way up to, I think our oldest one recently graduated and she moved to Alaska 2 days ago. She was 65. As long as they're over 18. We do work with the secondary population, which is kids, but that's not our specialty. We'll get them the resources that they need, and then we'll give mom the support she needs to help the kids make sure they have their needs met. So with Regina Hall in mind, all of our day programming in our groups, they're all around pro-social models of reintegration. There's so much stigma with women coming out of incarceration that they get turned down for jobs. They won't get good options in housing, which is unfortunate because you can't grow in the same environment that got you sick. And so having this day programming, sometimes unfortunately, circumstances cause them to have to go back to certain parts of the city that they didn't want to be in. Having the Regina Hall open as a clubhouse model allows them that break and that separation that they need, so that they're not all day in the same community. They're getting out of the community. They're coming to a place that encourages their sobriety, that encourages their growth, that continues to empower them to improve and to not allow this one thing to be what their entire story is. You know, a lot of the women, we try to build them into mentors. We give them an internship position in their front desk. So sometimes you'll see a random client sitting at the front desk and they get to add that to their resume. As they get more and more into the mentorship world with Crossroads, we will help get them set up for their peer certification and then for their CCSS certification, which is the Comprehensive Community Support Certification. So when they leave from us, they have had experience and certifications to go and work in a place like Crossroads. If they want to come back to Crossroads, we make them wait 2 years. That way they go get the experience in the community and then they can come back and work for us as caseworkers, resident advisors. And we continue doing that. We have our services programs director. She graduated our program and now she oversees all the programs across the entire agency. Our senior caseworker, she is also a graduate and she's now the senior caseworker for our outpatient programs. So we want them to come back because if you serve, then you're happy, right? And we start them off with volunteering because the more experience you get with volunteering, the more you start to feel it. And then the more you want to work in an agency or in a community that is mission driven and that is going to give back.
Do you have community partners who might help with legal challenges, discrimination, this one?
We will sometimes work with the ACLU. Yes, and then we also have a law firm called Lead Law Firm, and they will come in, or they will take referrals from us to do consultations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm of curiosity, as a former HEC Chuck professor and working with women in construction, are any of it, there's a huge labor shortage in the construction industry. So do you think any of them would be interested in learning apprenticeship, welding, carpentry, any of the basic apprenticeship construction skills? Because they are begging for people to get into that. And we're trying to change the view that women can be in construction, not just men.
Yes, absolutely. We have women ask all the time, for like basic things in the agency, they're the ones who help us take care of it. They're very hands-on, but they're always asking, what else is there? They don't want an office job, right? They want to work with their hands. They want to go into skilled labor rather than, the office.
Because I do have a fund that I give it to AGC specifically for women who want to go into the class. So, that's simple.
And if you ever wanna come in and talk to the ladies, we can set you up to go in and let them know what you do. When I took Crossroads as executive director, I felt isolated from the community. There wasn't a lot of, community involvement. I had been in the nonprofit world for 9-10 years already, and I hadn't known much about Crossroads. And so, my mission for the year was get the community back involved. And so we partner with so many different churches and nonprofits. Now we bring them all in instead of us going out. We have Truman Clinic that'll come and do hepatitis and HIV testing at least once a quarter. Healthcare for the homeless comes in and they'll give us consultations. We're gonna set up a nurse med clinic. You know, so the last year it's just been us putting our name out there and seeing what other people are doing, so we're not duplicating services. You know, nonprofits, we're all serving the same people, and if we can all serve them within our own niche, then it's even better for the community and for the clients, because they have more resources rather than just one place to go for everything. So it's been a huge part of our mission is bringing people in. So they come and talk to them, they'll introduce themselves, they end up pulling interns sometimes. And that's more meaningful to them than in, you know.
What are the hours in Virginia Hall gonna be? I mean, is it gonna be open all day or all night, or how is that gonna work? Because you have all night over there, and then Virginia Hall, is that gonna be a day, more daycare?
Yeah, it'll be day program.
An
So
all-day program?
Yeah, probably from about 9 to 5.
Okay,
We have some staff who will stay late, but as far as women coming in and out, 9 to 5.
oh, okay.
It was actually the position now that our church had 2 or 3 years ago, Holly Redding come to do a minute for mission for our service. So you were in that position now. Rob Font, now we work with him, we worked through the years with him.
Yes, so actually Bernice and I have somewhat taken both those positions, and her and I work together as a team, to
Okay.
go out in the community and network with others.
Okay.
We really think that we want to go back to our roots, which sometimes it does mean, like Bernice said, pruning the tree. It's making sure that we as leaders of the organization are able to speak about what we do and where we want to go. We want to continue growing our behavioral health program, we want to continue supporting women. And because of that, we think that it's more meaningful when both of us come in.
Any other questions about Crossroads or our expansion?
What kind of voluntary, positions? How do you accept volunteers? How do you vet them too?
Yes, we do have a formal process and you work with the team, so.
So we actually are very fortunate. UNM has allowed us to have work studies. We have 2 interns from UNM. And then we have our receptionists. They work together as a team. We do a volunteer application. We go ahead and do that formal application, make sure that everything's okay. And then from there, we talk to them. Part of the conversation for really right now, what we have had most supportive in the past few months has been our boutique. We realized that there was a lot of donations that have been sitting there, and you know, our clients are going in there. It's a shopping experience. We don't like the item, it kind of stays on the shelf. We do a lot of redonation runs, and that's what we have a lot of support in. We go and donate to other nonprofits, items that we're not seeing go quickly. And then we also just make sure that everything stays organized. We want to make it very aesthetic for the clients to feel comfortable. It's a store. There's jewelry put up. There's different areas from the sizing. We also have a home goods section. We also have different volunteers who help us with events. We are hoping to have an open house coming up whenever we fully launch, and that'll be where we'll see some volunteers, whether that's just a table and we have the event to hand out items, or to help us set up the food and get everything started. and then clean up.
Well, one time, when I took some photos over to a place across the street, and they said to go around the back, and to knock, and so I did. And when the young lady opened the door, she was just swamped with clothing there.
Yes.
So I thought, well, maybe clothing's not such a good idea, maybe you guys get lots. But I'm just asking, you know, is that like, and then you said you redonate to other organizations.
Yes,
And my daughter's got some professional clothes, and I thought, well, I'd bring them, you know, to you all, because people give her clothes, and then she passes on the good ones that she, to me, not for me, but for others. And so, but then I think maybe it's too much. What do you think?
It ebbs and flows. Sometimes we have too much and then we will redonate, or I will call a bunch of our community partners and I'll ask if any other ladies need clothes. And they'll just send them over and we let them have the shopping experience too. So I'll call like homeless shelters or other rehab programs and they'll come in and they'll shop. We're hoping for the open house event that we are going to be hosting. We're gonna have a donation-based yard sale. So we want to get all the excess clothing and put it out, and if they want to donate or they can donate, great, but if not, we're just gonna still be able to take it. And that's gonna help us kind of weed out some of the old clothes. Our volunteers are huge for that, though. We make sure that the women are involved in it and the CAB, our client advisory board, and anybody who is volunteering, that's usually where we send them, is to the boutique. You know, organize, sort, get rid of some of the stuff, you know, anything with paraphernalia or improper language, we don't put out. So being able to go through everything and just see what is.
What about food donations? Because I've taken in the Costco size stuff, because that's huge. But, you know, do you have like a need list, want list somewhere? I think one time became spoken at church, and that's when I saw that.
Right, and what we try to do through Advent, because the church, during Advent, I make sure and go on the website and then I check with Ashley to make sure that at that point in time, what's their biggest need? It seems like hygiene is very, it's very.
Because we are an all women's program, we don't believe in having women have to make a choice between their next meal and feminine hygiene products. And so we always provide that no matter who they are, even if they are a woman who's not in our program and they come in and they need that, we will provide them with a box to make sure that they can get through their next cycle. You know, it's just not, it's a need, it's not a, it shouldn't be a privilege to take care of themselves. So we will not make them, you know, so hygiene is definitely one of those big things because we get those, we pay for them or we get them donated. So definitely a big need.
Seems like laundry was too. You need have a bunch of washing machines that, I know at one time you were looking for someone to repair get the plumbing of the washing machines.
Yeah, so that's actually part of our renovation that we're doing in Elm. We are working with a couple different contractors to get our water situation on the southwest wing all set up, so we can open up more beds. We do have a room inside of the boutique that we've gone back and forth to whether we want to have it be a laundry room or not. We have laundry inside for the ladies who live there. But we're still ambivalent. We're not sure where we want to go with that one. We have the space for it and we have a bunch of washers and dryers. We just they're not working right now. Yeah, we've gone back and forth a lot on that one.
Well, I think it was last year we had 505 Locker come in and talk about their clothing program. And I don't know if you guys linked into those, because they're always looking for clothing also, so.
Yeah, and they're the ones that work with the schools,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Primarily with schools. Yeah, we have a section for children, but we don't get too much.
Okay,
You know, mostly what we get is women's donations, women's clothes. We have a baby section too, because we have women obviously who are starting their families whenever they leave from us. And so we have the baby section too, but campers, all of those things. But as far as older kids, rarely do we get those clothes.
Have you all done any measures of recidivism with Crossroads versus without Crossroads?
We have not. So whenever I started, there wasn't a lot of data being collected. We are collecting data now. We're hoping to have a year's worth before we put out any formal stuff. In the agency that I worked in before, it was primarily with men, and we were able to reduce the recidivism by 80% by going through a similar program. It was all men in the program I came from. And so we're hoping to get close. I mean, that's, a good dream, right?
Yeah.
But we are hoping to at least get close to that yet.
What's the biggest challenge you see face? You're serving one. What for the person the next gap?
We definitely have a shortage of mental health providers. If we had enough mental health providers, I would only be the executive director. But I help with a bunch of the crisis intervention. I do assessments. I have a small caseload of clients, on top of being an ED. So mental health professionals, there's a need for medication as well. Some of the ladies that we have are very acute and they may need medication. And so finding providers in a timely manner is difficult. Primary care is another challenge. We're looking at sometimes 3 to 6 months before they can get in with the primary care physician. 3 to 6 months, a lot can happen, And so those are like big challenges that we have. And then, of course, the housing issues that we're facing right now. The rent is skyrocketed. And so for them to work and get paid $15-16 an hour and still have a good apartment and a car and everything that they need to get to work, it's a big challenge. So a lot of them end up going back into neighborhoods that maybe they got into trouble in, and that increases recidivism. So biggest challenges are opening up fair market value for not just one area of Albuquerque, but having affordable housing across Albuquerque so that there's an ability for them to get out of the environment that helped contribute to their either incarceration, homelessness, or traumas.
I mean, if I summarize that in the words, you're looking for independence.
Yeah.
They're looking for independence.
Yeah.
And you listed a bunch of things that make people independent.
Yeah.
If you have all. And so when they're unable to do that, they have to go back to what they know, which is their families or communities.
Yes,
You're saying that's increasing risk.
absolutely. Are they
Your
getting-
wife is an attorney in that field, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Social justice.
Or they'll end up going back into relationships that are not healthy, and then there's the financial stronghold, right? I either stay with this person in a domestic violence situation, or I go be homeless, and I have my dog and I have a kid, and right? So it complicates the picture, and then we'll stay in a very traumatic situation in lieu of losing their basic needs. So it's very challenging. A huge part of what we do is try to empower women to see that they are worth so much more than sometimes what they settle for. They all have so much potential, they bring so much to the table and they don't see it because they've never been fostered in that way. They are extremely intelligent women that are looked at as a number. And our mission is to help them see that they are worth so much more than what society has ever given them or what they believe that they deserve. So empowering them in that way, it helps them to break some of those barriers on their own. I might have to go live with my sister for 6 months, but I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna save money and get in my own place. And so the support in the community is usually the biggest contributing factor to success.
And because you're working with women,
it's even more difficult. I just got out of a women in construction conference where the data shows that a man will take a position if he knows 30% of that job. A woman will not take it unless she knows 100%. And so they're even harder to convince you can do this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we work so hard trying to empower that part of them, you know, give it a try, what's the worst that can happen, you know? If you don't like it, or it's not for you, or you know now where you need to strengthen yourself, you know, and so we do that constantly with them, try it out, you know, say yes sometimes, say no sometimes, right? So, picking up those extra shifts, instead of doing that, say no and come home and work on your GED, or, you know, something that is gonna be a better trade-off of your time in the future.
Return on investment.
Absolutely. Did I miss anything? Anything you wanted to say?
Say on the heard groups, at some of the groups, we do life skills, we do, team lessons, also have a budget. Now that's a big strain, go to the grocery store, you have a budget, you have to stick to it, that means it's a sticky position that you're on. All of this is led by our youth groups. That allows them to not only interact with them during their case management, but also allow them to interact with them in a group setting. And it's more community feel. That's really what we see across the street. We definitely want to grow the community and let them know this is a place where you can come learn, but also a place where you can just have some peace and be able to just interact with your community. So that's just, hopefully you will get to see that, and we're hoping to invite you home pretty soon to come across the street and just see what we're going to be able to grow into.
I might mention, there's also, Deb mentions about construction.
I don't think we have that yet.
Probably forgot to mute herself.
Yeah.
She's in the office watching.
So there's also a big shortage in truck drivers, big rigs and stuff like that. So I've been associated for many years with Catholic Charities, and they put an emulator in that allows a person to be trained to be able to drive those big trucks. I mean, just local trucks, but also, you know, big 18-wheelers, stuff like that we see on I-40, and they said they saw that as a great avenue to take refugees and things into the marketplace. So just an idea. And those are well-paying jobs.
Yes, so the mechanism would be to bring those people into your day. You know, I could bring the executive director from the associate general contractors in to talk about those opportunities. And we could work with your connections with.
Well, they bought the simulators. You guys might consider that as a possibility.
Oh, by the.
Internal training. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. We've had some ladies talk about that being their ultimate freedom. You
Yeah.
know, it'd be great to get,
On the road.
yeah, no probation, no parole, no
Right.
programming, you know, and just be able to be on the road and completely independent and, you know, well, we need to do to get there, right? Let us help you get
It's a
there.
good steady job. I mean, get paid.
Is there any advocacy that y'all are interested in or do currently in terms of forming provision of rule? Is that something that would help? You know, what else?
Yeah. So every year we attend a legislative event for the End Mass Incarceration Day. We send speakers up there to talk to everyone about the effects on like, institutionalization, on reform instead, you know, and helping people with programs rather than solitary confinement. So those are big things we do work with, or that we advocate for. The newest one we did was the Premenstrual Equity Act. That was one that we also supported during the legislative events too. So we
What
will.
what is that?
So for women who are incarcerated, to make sure that they get their needs met as far as their monthly cycles. What we were learning is that sometimes they would not give them anything to take care of that, or if a woman was having a miscarriage while they were incarcerated, they weren't providing them with the proper stuff they needed to take care of themselves, or women who were older and maybe needed adult supplies, they were not being provided those things. And so this act basically states that it is a right for them to have these. It's not up to a corrections officer who's in a bad mood that day. Or your favorite, so you get them, but I don't like you, so you're not getting them, kind of thing. It's across the board. So that's one of the ones we supported this year as well. Yeah, we definitely, anything that deals with Department of Corrections, incarceration, or women's rights, we will try to get involved in.
Records expunction.
Yes, absolutely. We haven't had an opportunity to go into the expungements, but a lot of ladies are always asking us about it.
That's the record.
Yes.
Over the legal stuff.
Yeah. Well, the unfortunate thing is, as you learn these ladies' stories, they are basically years of trauma, you know, for the most part. You know, you get a few outliers who were very much involved in the crime and you know, but a lot of them were in a relationship where their boyfriend used them as a mule, or where they had them hiding things in their apartment, or they had them do some like counterfeit stuff. I mean, it's a bunch of secondary things that happen as a result of their environment, not technically because they are malicious, you know, and so it's unfortunate, you know, and to get them to think about something apart from these things happen to you, they are not who you are. That is a challenge in itself. You know, your criminal history is just a chapter in your life. It's not your entire story. Yeah, but it's a challenge, definitely.
And you have 2 year end interns, which gives them the connection that GED path. Yeah, because education has always been my applications for to get out of college.
Yes, absolutely. And I think they see, one of the powerful parts of Crossroads is that we are so peer-centered. A majority of our staff members are all peers, meaning that they have significant life experience. We have some of them who are currently on probation and parole. You know, people who have histories of incarceration and or substance abuse issues, mental health issues. And now they're the ones who are helping to lead these women who are coming out of incarceration. That part is so powerful. You know, they will see me and come to me as a clinician and say, you don't know anything, you don't know what I went through, without understanding or knowing my story, which I can't really share as a clinician. But a peer can sit with them in a room and say, you can't tell me that. I was in your shoes 5 months ago. You know, I got off parole 2 years ago, you know, and so it changes the dynamic of, you know what, maybe I can listen to you because you were on probation or parole. You're off it now, and now you're helping me to stay on track, and you have a job, and you know, you have a car and all of these things, right? So it helps give them a little bit of inspiration.
In the time we have left, do you want to promote the Cinco de Mayo event that's coming up?
Yes, so we are hoping that on Cinco de Mayo, it is a Monday. We will have an open house for the Regina Hall. For us moving in, we would like to invite you all to stop in. You're welcome to walk around, see what we've done with the place. We will be putting a little bit of Crossroad flair on the building, so you'll be able to see that. The clients are the ones who get involved in that process. So artwork, all of those things will be part of the clients taking that initiative. So you're all welcome to come and just see, look around. get to interact with some of other community partners and our clients, and we'll all be there.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And we'll send another formal invitation to you all so that you can, so y'all will remember.
Thank you, guys. And I realize they have a budget to, for outside Sunday school teachers. We give them a stipend, so they'll be getting a check from the church.
You have to supply the information.
We did, we went down, they gave the address to Becky.
Becky?
Becky's-
Okay,
Becky's
good.
in the office.
Thank you for the work that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love
No longer
the way
chair that
Tom-
committee, so I don't have to worry about it. Bye, everybody.
Process.
This is the first construction of
A little intimidating.